In YouTube videos, you can add an index to sections of your video in the description so that viewers can easily navigate your video and find or skip specific sections. The format for these entries is typically either a timecode that consists of minutes and seconds separated by a colon, and either preceded with some descriptive text or the text can follow the timecode. I typically use a format that looks like this. Done properly, your index will add this indicator below the video that shows what section the viewer is looking at. It also segments the timeline in the video to indicate each section. Clicking on the indicator below the video will activate a nice index on the right side of the browser so that you can scroll through and choose what section you want to view. YouTube requires that you create a first entry that has a timecode of 0 to indicate the start of the video to enable these features. I typically label this one Introduction. A list of timecodes without the 0 entry will still work, but you won't get the nice UI enhancements that I just outlined. The user can also click on the highlighted timecode values in the description to jump to that location in the video. There's a feature hidden in Resolve that will let you automate the creation of this index. This is super useful, especially if you have a longer video with a lot of index points in it. Alright, let's get started. In this project, I have a set of B-roll clips and some music in a timeline. I'll use markers to create my index points for YouTube. I recommend creating your markers as the final step in creating your video. I typically do it after I've output my final version. Use markers by navigating to the position in your video that you want to create an index point and press the M key. This will create the marker, or you can press this button here above the timeline to do the same thing. Once the marker is created, you can give it a name by double-clicking on it like this. This is where I add the text that I want associated with the timecode in the YouTube index. So for this first one, I'll call it Introduction. Now I'll use the down arrow to jump to each cut in the timeline here, and I'll add an appropriately named marker for each one. Through the miracle of editing, we're now done. We have markers at each point where I want to have an index entry in my YouTube video description. Now, here is the hidden feature in Resolve. Right mouse click on the timeline you're using over in the media pool like this and select Timelines. Then Export. Now select Timeline Markers to EDL. This will export the marker data to a text file. Just navigate to an appropriate location and click Save. Once exported, you'll get a confirmation message from Resolve. At this point, we're done with Resolve and you can shut it down. EDL stands for Edit Decision List, but we're not going to use the file for that. We will instead create our YouTube index from it. We'll use a couple of free text editors, one for the Mac and one for Windows, so this will work in either operating system. I'll do this in two parts due to the differences in the editors I'll use on the Mac and on Windows. For the Mac, I'll use the free version of BB Edit, and on Windows, I'll use the free Notepad++ application. These are linked to in the description. Let's do the Mac portion first. To make things simple, I'm going to change the file extension to .txt instead of .edl so that the OS will associate it to a text editor. The OS will ask for confirmation that I want to change it, and we confirm this action like so. Now I open the file using BB Edit. The first 3 lines of the file can be removed. I hold Shift and tap the down arrow to select them and then hit the delete key like so. Now we want to get rid of some of this other data, so we go to the end of the first line here and we select everything from there to the M colon in front of our marker name. Instead of deleting this, we want to copy it. Now I press the up arrow to position the cursor at the start of the file again and press Command F to bring up the search and replace feature. In the find box, we paste the text we just copied. In the replace box, I'll put space, hyphen, space like this. That way we replace the text that we don't want with a nice cosmetic separator from the timecode and the index description text. Notice that BB Edit has highlighted each instance of the text we asked it to find in the text window. Now we select the Replace All option and all of that extraneous text is removed from our file like so. Okay, that looks good. We need to remove all of the extraneous blank lines, so to do that, go to the D1 at the end of the first line like this. You should select all characters from the end of your first description element out to the right until it selects the rest of the blank space after D1. Press Command-C to copy this and press the up arrow to move back to the start of the line. Go to the Find box again, and in the top portion, press Command-A to select anything that was in the box previously, and then press Command-V to paste our new selection in. On the Replace box, click inside of it and press Command-A and then the Delete key to get rid of the previously used text. Now click Replace All and the blank lines and D1 text should be gone like this. Markers have two time codes associated with them, a start and a duration. The EDL file creates a duplicate of these two values, and ultimately we only care about the starting time code, which is the first time code that I have highlighted here. Within that time code, we don't care about the last two digits, as that's for frames. For most videos, we only care about minutes and seconds, which I have highlighted here. The leftmost digit is hours, so if your video exceeds 1 hour, you'll want to include that set of two digits. For this short video, we only care about minutes and seconds. Now we do a column select and get rid of the remaining elements that we don't care about. I press the up arrow to go to the first character of this first line like this. Now I press Alt and the left mouse button to select the contiguous columns in the text that I want removed like this. Once selected, I press Delete. Now I perform the same column selection for the rest of the unwanted timecode like this, and again hit Delete, and voila! We have our YouTube video index for our description. Now I can just copy and paste all of this into my description, and I have an accurate index for my video that was automatically created, well, for the most part, by Resolve. Okay, now I'm going to go and do the same thing in Windows. Although I've already covered it, we can recap real fast. Right mouse click on the timeline you're using over in the media pool like this and select timelines. Then export. Now select timeline markers to EDL. You'll be prompted for a location. I use the desktop here to keep it simple. Once complete, Resolve lets you know it's done. Now we can quit Resolve, we're done with it. To make things simple, I'm going to change the file extension to .txt instead of .edl so the OS will associate it to a text editor. The OS will ask for confirmation that I want to change it, and we confirm that action like this. Now a right mouse click on the file brings up a context menu, and we can select Edit with Notepad++ from here. We can delete the first three lines. Holding down Shift, I press down arrow 3 times and hit Delete. Make sure your cursor is at the top left of the document. Control Home will get you there. Once there, click on Macro in the menu and then click on Start Recording. Now press the End key to get to the end of this line. Hold down Shift and Control and tap the right arrow key until you've selected everything up to your marker title text like this. Press Delete and then a hyphen and a space. This will create a separator between the timecode and the title in the index. It's totally optional. Now press the Home key and the down arrow twice and you should be at the start of the next line. Now click on Macro again and select Stop Recording. Click on Macro again and select Run a Macro multiple times. Click on Run until the end of the file and click on Run. Once it's done, click on the Cancel to dismiss the macro dialog box. Press Control Home to get back to the top again. Once there, click on Macro in the menu and then click on Start Recording. Now hit the down arrow key and the Delete key. Click on Macro again and select Stop Recording. Click Macro menu again and select Run a Macro multiple times. Run until the end of file should still be selected, so just click on Run. Once it's done, click on Cancel to dismiss the macro dialog box. Press Control Home to get back to the top again. Now hit the End key to get to the end of the current line. Hold down Shift and select the D1 text on the end of the line like this. The D element indicates a duration, which we don't care about here. Press Ctrl-C and copy it. Press Ctrl-F and bring up the Find box. Click on the Replace tab. Paste the text with Ctrl-V into the upper box for the Find element, and in the Replace box, press Ctrl-A and Delete to remove any extraneous data that might have been there. Then click on Replace All. Click Close to dismiss the Find dialog. Markers have two timecodes associated with them, a start and a duration. The EDL file creates a duplicate of these two values, and ultimately we only care about the starting timecode, which is the first timecode that I have highlighted here. Within that timecode, we don't care about the last two digits. Those are for frames. For most videos, we only care about minutes and seconds, which I have highlighted here. The leftmost digit is hours, so if your video exceeds 1 hour, you'll want to include that set of two digits. For this short video, we only care about minutes and seconds. Our final thing to do here is 2 column selects and 2 deletes, while holding down the Alt with the mouse cursor in the upper left corner, left mouse click and drag to select all of these columns like this until we have the colon before the minutes in the first timecode selected. Press Delete. Now position the mouse cursor before the colon in front of the frames counter in the first timecode like this, pointing your mouse at this location while you hold down Alt and left click and drag out the column selection like this, then press Delete to remove it. That's it, you're done. Now you can copy and paste that into your description and get your pre-made index. Additionally, you can save the macros you make as you record them to speed up this process even further. With a macro recorded, click on the macro menu and select Save Current Recorded Macro. You'll be prompted for a name for it. Below that, you can set a hotkey to trigger the macro if you like. Click OK to save the macro. You can then run the macro on demand by triggering it either with the hotkey you defined or from the macro menu itself, where it will be listed towards the bottom of the menu like this. At the bottom of the macro menu is an option that lets you modify the hotkey shortcut or delete the macro. And that wraps up this tutorial. I hope this helps someone. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, please click like, as that helps other folks find the video as well. And until the next video, keep on creating.